Calling Colorado the nation's funhouse mirror, mini-me, a schizophrenic state of political contradictions, Newsweek magazine's next issue will analyze Colorado politics. The cover of the magazine will feature a headline of God, Guns, and Ganja. David, this not only proves that Colorado is a bellwether state, but it also proves that Newsweek is still in business. So two good things. What did you think of the big announcement and their title of Colorado as this schizophrenic bellwether?
Another anthropological piece by an East Coast journalist who comes in, does interviews with the fascinating yet bizarre natives, and then sums it up for the civilized people in the Boston-Washington corridor. She's been working on this piece since July. I've been emailed with her and on stuff. There's still some basic stuff that is kind of surprisingly wrong. Like she says, licensed concealed handgun carry isn't allowed in Denver, which of course it is and has been by statewide law since 2003. Her morality tale is she first goes out and looks at all the evil right wing, and she makes sure to select the most extreme targets. The Air Force Academy unnamed people who are the Christian aggressive proselytizers, Bob Enyart, the extreme far-right radio host, and Dudley Brown, and presents them as one thing, but then the happy ending is focus on the family, teamed up with Ted Trimpa, the gay rights lobbyist, to work together on a human trafficking bill, and which passed the state legislature. And this shows that really it's compromise, and the balance of power in Colorado is based on those independent, libertarian-ish immigrant voters, which is true. What she doesn't understand is she's presenting this as, oh, what an interesting revelation. That's been the situation in Colorado for at least 4 decades. That's among the reasons why, for example, in 1978, a Republican landslide nationally, Dick Lamb, our Democratic governor, got reelected pretty handily because he was seen as one of these independent, pragmatic guys. And whereas Democratic Senator Floyd Haskell had been called a national treasure by unpopular Democratic President Jimmy Carter, and that was the end of him. And the same voters that reelected Lamb handily threw out Haskell in a landslide and elected a pretty far-right guy, William Armstrong. So her anthropological analysis of our strange mountain customs really are nothing new. It's been the way Colorado's been for most people's memory.
Eric, this particular analysis aside, do you think there are other pundits looking at Colorado as a model on that larger scale when they look at the presidential campaign, they look at Ohio, they look at Florida, other states that tend to say where the whole election is going to go? Is Colorado in that tier, or is this an anomaly?
No, it's not an anomaly. Colorado is definitely in that tier. We are at the epicenter of the political debate in this country. We're there for 2 reasons. One is we are a swing state. We are a purple state. We're a key to the Electoral College, even though Florida and Ohio have several times as many electoral votes as we do. We are still a key state. Secondly, it makes good copy, and reporters love to come here. Would you rather spend your July or August in Columbus, Ohio, or in Denver, Boulder, and Aspen, Colorado? Ask yourself that question. We make good copy. The marijuana piece certainly makes for good copy, and we've been on the cutting edge of a lot of social developments. It probably makes for better television for me to completely disagree with David, and sometimes I do. On this issue, I can't. I found this article, give them credit, give Newsweek, and again, who knew that they still existed, but give them credit for a great headline and a sensational headline that gets people to read it. I thought the article was overly sensational. I thought it was amateurly put together. David pointed out one factual error. Another one that captured my attention was they talked about how the governor's office has been passed back and forth between the 2 parties here over and over again. And all of a sudden, I sort of thought that I knew a bit of Colorado political history, and in the last 44 years, we've had a grand total of 1 Republican governor, Bill Owens, who served 8 years. It doesn't get passed. The Republicans could only wish it had been being passed back and forth over all these decades. So, again, just a glaring factual error. They captured some interesting Colorado characters, from Ted Trimpa to Jim Daly to Bob Enyart to Dudley Brown. But it was very sensationalized, as those characters are somewhat sensationalized characters.
Ben, anything more than an alliterative headline?
Well, I think it does reflect our status that we're no longer in flyover country here in Colorado. I think we do have elements of broader society that are here. We were the first to legalize marijuana. We unfortunately were among the first to have one of the most sensational public shootings at Columbine, and we've since had another at Aurora. So I think there are certain elements that of society that take place here that are very broadly reflective of what's going on everywhere. I did find the article to be sort of light on real detail or grit or any nuanced understanding of what's happening here. But I think that we have become a bellwether in that so many of our residents aren't from here, so we really aren't comprised a majority of Coloradans. I saw an interesting map showing immigration in the United States. 41% of Coloradans were born in Colorado. So that means 59–60% of people residing here didn't come from here. So, the values that are here, the way that you see the elections, the number of independent voters is a reflection of what's going on elsewhere, and it's because the people here are from elsewhere.
Patty, I think Newsweek can take a lesson from you. You have written more than your fair share of clever headlines. What did you think of Newsweek's offering?
Well, they might have gone to Ohio if it weren't for the ganja, so they could get that third alliterative word.
Soon.
Yeah, Eric is absolutely right. People would much rather spend the summer in Colorado than in Ohio, which is why they're going to do, if you're picking a bellwether state, even though others qualify, you're going to come here. It's why the John Benet Ramsey case got so much more coverage here than, say, a murder might have in Kansas. Who doesn't want to come to Colorado over the Christmas holidays to go skiing and cover an event? So it's not a surprise that they would choose Colorado. It is catchy that the fact that the first state to legalize marijuana is here. We also happen to have God and guns, which probably 47 other states emphasize too. So it's not completely unique to Colorado. We have our share of characters. They pick them out. They're not hard to find. This is not the first story that's emphasized our legalizing pot, and will certainly not be the last. I think I get 10 requests a week for someone colorful to go talk to and to say, hey, walk down the 16th Street Mall, you'll be fine.